On this week's show,
I went to see a sci-fi film which I thought was going to be really cool, but it turns out it was about an astronaut with daddy issues.
and we discuss Smallville and its main attraction, of course, Lana Lang.
I bring you an update on the Star Trek Discovery plagiarism case. Unfortunately, the news is not good.
And I want to talk about the new iPhone. Stay tuned.
I don't believe it. Ladies and gentlemen, geeks and gamers, astronauts with daddy issues, Brad Pitt fans, Tommy Lee Jones fans, lunar people, Martians, rocket pilots, all good and decent fathers around the world. Poor old Liv Tyler, who was in a recent movie and didn't get to say one single line. Indie game developers that have their ideas stolen by evil faceless bureaucrats, otherwise known as the Star Trek Discovery writers. The faceless bureaucrats are Star Trek Discovery writers. Superman fans, Smallville fans, cult sex slave ringleaders that get other girls involved in stupid evil cult things. Lana Lang from Smallville, because she was so hot. Apple fanboys, oh yes, Google Pixel fanboys, hairless apes with the egos the size of fucking planets, ginger dwarfs with evil ginger dwarfs, angry ginger dwarfs, fishermen of the sea, Captain Birdseye, squirrels, and people who identify themselves as attack helicopters. I got one word for you, or two words. Hey guys. See, Gareth? That's me dropping the mic. I'm giving you the finger. Welcome to this week's Monkey Nut Punch podcast. How you doing, Nigel?
Yeah, that was alright. But it could do with some work. Maybe a little bit shorter.
Fuck off.
As intros go.
I would
rate that as a 4 out of 10.
Seriously, giving me all that shit. I was like, right, fuck you. I'm doing it this week. You might can tell that Gareth is not here. And I've come to the conclusion that Gareth's got a problem. He seems to be addicted to theme parks because he's at Euro Disney this weekend and not with us. And it's a shame because, Nigel, I've got some news for you. If you take out our specials, so you do not include our specials, this is the 100th episode of the Nut Punch podcast. Now, see, I fucked up, but never mind. This is the This is the 100th episode of the Monkey Nut Punch podcast. So, yay!
Yeah, go us. Hey,
yeah,
Keith, go us.
Yes, go us.
No help from anyone else. Go us.
So I'm going to put a disclaimer in now. What you might hear might not be entirely, in this entire podcast, might not be entirely factually correct. And we'd like you to know, me and Nige, that it's entirely on purpose because it winds up Gareth so much. So just to get it off, Aliens is the worst movie ever made, as is Alien. Hillary Clinton should have won the American election because she's brilliant. Is there anything else you can think of that really wind up Gareth?
Theme parks are overrated.
Yes. Star Wars Galaxy Edge is the best thing ever.
I absolutely love the latest Star Wars film.
Oh yeah, Captain Marvel's the best movie in all of the Marvel universe.
Oh mate, nothing else compares.
And Batman's the best Marvel character there ever was.
I just loved it when Indiana Jones turned up and he collaborated with Captain Marvel and Batman to take down the Sith Lord.
I could do this for an hour, you know that.
The crystals.
I could do this for an hour. You see,
I can picture him now boiling over and.
You see, he likes to think he's really clever, but giving us a load of corrections 1 week before he goes away. I'm just sitting there going, "Oh, next week." Next week, it's all mine.
We might be making a rod for our own backs.
Yes, I know, but
Probably back next week.
Let's enjoy the fun.
For which I apologise to our viewers, because he'll probably tell us all about his theme park escapades again. So that's 2 out of 3 podcasts he's been on recently with theme park news.
Okay, what are we talking about this week? Well, I saw a film yesterday called Ad Astra with Brad Pitt. I want to talk a little bit about that. We are also talking about the news that Tom Welling is reprising his role from Smallville as Superman in the Crisis on Infinity Earth's massive crossover event thing that they're doing on all of the Berlanti universe shows in the US. We're also going to briefly give you an update on the Star Trek Discovery lore case, some sad news there. And to finish it off, believe it or not, this was not my suggestion. I'd like to point this out. Believe it or not, Nigel wants to talk about the iPhone 11.
Actually true.
It really is. So, Nigel, have you seen the trailer to this Ad Astra with Brad Pitt? It's like a sci-fi film.
No. To be fair, I didn't even know it existed. So he's in space.
Kind of, yeah. So I saw this trailer and I thought, okay, it kind of gives you Interstellar vibes when you see the trailer, but it doesn't really give anything of what it is about away, except that it caught my interest because I thought, oh, an original sci-fi film, not based on anything, not a fucking sequel, not a goddamn reboot. And
but is it though?
No, it is an original piece, but it's kind of like that bloody Mars thing that we watched recently. Do you remember the thing where it was more concerned with drug-addled daughters than it was about, men going to Mars? And like it kind of follows in the vein of The First Man as well. I think it was called The First, wasn't it? And then there's First Man, which was the sort of biopic of Neil Armstrong, but it was a real emo fucking film, and I didn't really like it. But the first, it's kind of in that vein, and it kind of portrays again as daddies are bad. And Brad Pitt's character is a astronaut with serious daddy issues.
So I've just had a little peek at the synopsis. It says 30 years ago, Clifford McBride led a voyage into deep space, but the ship and crew were never heard from again. Now his son, a fearless astronaut, must embark on a daring mission to Neptune to uncover the truth about his missing father and a mysterious power surge that threatens the stability of the universe. That
makes the film sound really cool. But
so is it actually that or no?
Yes, but it doesn't focus on that. You see, that's a con. Now, I mean, the film starts off with, and it gives you that kind of, it's got that kind of, it's trying to be 2001 slightly once you get into the film. So once, because you've got that amazing fucking intro in 2001 where you've got the fucking ape picking up the thing, and then you've got that huge long piece where the ship goes to the moon and lands on the moon and it's playing, classical music. But once you get into that ship and you've got Hello, Dave, it has a little bit of that vibe. It has a little bit of Interstellar going on about it. But it is not that. It starts with Liv Tyler walking down a room. She says nothing, and she clearly is leaving Brad Pitt. And then it's him doing these weird, he's got this like sensor on him and he's doing these weird sort of psychological tests, but he's doing it with a computer program. Because it comes up right at the beginning going in the near future, but I figured out it's got to be at least 100 years in the future, which is not the near future. Because we know that there's an established base on Mars, and we meet a character there sort of midway through the movie who says, I was born on Mars. She's at least 40. Now, to build that kind of infrastructure, you've got to have had at least 50 years in the future. So I'm estimating at least 100 years in the future. But the premise that you've just read makes this film sound really cool. And if it focused on that as the story, it would be great. But it doesn't. You see, it focuses on Brad Pitt. There is not a single scene in the film without Brad Pitt in it. It is literally every scene is Brad Pitt. And most of the time he's doing this inner monologue about his feelings. And it's basically...
Well,
go on.
that just saying that, I've pulled up Rotten Tomatoes to have a quick scoop, as we do with a new film.
Yeah, I've seen
now
this.
The critics
82% when I checked this
82%.
morning.
However, as we always know, the audience score completely differs from what the critics think. Maybe they should get rid of the program, because the audience score is 45%, and that's not 1 or 2 ratings. That is 1,800 ratings.
It's very much a critics film. It's very much an arty-farty
film. Sounds like it.
And
if it's an arty-farty film, they love it. But the audience never loves that sort of thing.
And the trailer and synopsis don't really... It's a con as to what you actually turn up and see. There's no real focus on the science. There are some bits where they have real-time communication, and they damn well should. In fact, there's only one scene, but there's one scene where they're kind of out from the moon, quite substantially out from the moon, and they have real-time communication. You're like, how? If it's in the near future, because radio signals can take up to 18 minutes to travel from Mars. If you're a few days out, there's going to be a few seconds delay. At least there was no delay. You're like, yep, okay. They've got some advanced propulsion drive that they don't even touch on, because it takes 19 days to travel from the moon to Mars. Every single planet seems to be nicely in line with each other. But okay, so the basic premise of the story is, it's, as I said, it starts off with some real arty-farty scene of Liv Tyler walking down a bloody, posh corridor, and Brad Pitt just looking really solemn. She stares at him, and he just looks at her and looks back, and she walks out. And then it cuts to this it's a space tether, but it's an antenna that is built from the ground into space. Now, that before you look completely, we're not that far from. There are now talks about constructing one of these things, and you might. Sorry, Gareth, to wind you up. You might see one of these in your lifetime. There are serious talks about how to build one of these things.
Of what?
Well, most people talk about space elevators. So basically, you have an elevator into space. And there is serious science behind it, and serious science discussion about it. But in this, it appears to be an antenna, because the whole point about this film is the search for extraterrestrial life. Like Earth, because of all the problems going on Earth has kind of become obsessed with searching for extraterrestrial life, and it would appear that we're low on resources, so man has gone to the stars to sort of bring, mine asteroids, mine the moon, and that kind of thing. So we have basically Brad Pitt. It's quickly established he's an astronaut, and he's talking in his room, and then suddenly you see now there's gravity here, and where you actually see this, there wouldn't be that much gravity. So he steps out, and he's on this great big antenna, not a space elevator, because it doesn't look obvious how they get up there either, unless this thing's a lot thicker than it appears. But he's out fixing this arm, and he's in space, but this elevator comes all the way from the Earth, effectively, or antenna. That's what it implies it is. And he's out there, he's talking to his commander, and then suddenly you see these sparks, and basically things go bang, he jumps off, and he parachutes down to Earth. The next thing you know, he's been called into a sort of bunker with some, sort of intimidating looking generals that basically say, there's a power surge that caused this. Because you get like the sort of over news articles going, 45,000 people dead, nobody knows what the cause is, blah, blah, blah. So, that sets up the generals scene. They tell him that we know what it is. It's top secret, but it's a power surge coming from Neptune. And that's how it's causing it. Now, again, magic, because how do you cause a planet to do a power surge? Anyway, magic. Gareth could. I'll give Gareth this. He could pick holes in this movie left, right, and centre. But anyway, we then learned that Brad Pitt's father, Tommy Lee Jones, was sent out on a mission, as you said in The Simpsons, 30 years earlier, to go beyond the Neptune to search for extraterrestrial life, because apparently once you get out of the Earth's magnetic or the sun's magnetic field, radio signals apparently work much better. Okay, I don't know enough science about that, but they send this thing out, and about 15, so many years into the mission, they lose contact with it. So, but they tell Brad Pitt that they suspect he's still alive, and therefore Brad Pitt has to go to Mars to send a signal, because apparently if you're on Mars, the communication is better for some reason. Again, they don't explain that, but they have to go all the way to Mars to communicate. But because of other forces, which they don't really allude too much to, they have to travel by conventional travel to the moon, because apparently, what do they call it? Commercial travel to the moon, and then they have to go to one of the space comms, US space comms bases on the dark side of the moon, where there will be a rocket launched from there to Mars. Why they can't just launch a fucking rocket from Earth to Mars? But no, for some fucking reason, he has to go to the moon first. So cue here, more moody fucking talk over, and a sinister looking picture of Tommy Lee Jones on a wall as a hero when he was a bit younger, and then the next thing we know, we've got Kiefer Sutherland's father, what's his name? Donald Sutherland turns up and it says, "I'm coming with you. I used to know your father," blah, 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 generic speak. Brad Pitt looking a bit sinister, more in a fucking monologue. Gets on a rocket, which looks like a conventional rocket, but is treated like a Virgin Atlantic flight. Flies to the moon, 96 hours later, lands at this base where it's got Virgin Galactic. It's got an Apple store, which, using the old Apple logo, clearly see this Apple fucking store logo there, Virgin Atlantic or Virgin Galactic thing. And then it cuts to inside and it looks like a conventional airport, which I thought was quite cool. And there was like DHL here and stuff like that. And it's like, welcome to the moon, it's like welcome to like LA airport. It's that kind of thing, which I thought was all right. And then we find out that that there are other forces at play on the moon, and they're all at war. And the moon is a war zone for some reason, because they're all fighting over the resources of the moon, which didn't really make a lot of sense. And then they go out on these moon buggies, which again didn't open air moon buggies, which look like the original moon buggies from like the 1960s. Yet this is 100 years in the future. We've seen NASA designs for moon buggies, which are all closed up, but for some reason we're on open air buggies. And then you find out why, because there's a kind of like Mad Max pirate scene on the fucking moon where you got these space pirates, for all intents and purposes, that come in, and then it kind of feels like Moonraker, because they're firing these lasers at each other and look like that fucking James Bond in space episode for a second. And then like towards the end, you like, of course they're traveling in a cargo 3, the other 2 get wiped out, and the driver who was driving Brad Pitt and Donald Sutherland, because Donald Sutherland, is an 80-year-old gentleman but managed to get into spacesuit and just fly to the moon like you do. Driving across the moon in this fucking buggy, and like, as I said, like space pirates take out the others and then take out the guy that's driving. So Brad Pitt, being the hero, jumps in, more in a fucking monologue, and then he gets the space pirates basically throw them into this crater, and you see it spinning, and of course half the crater's in the dark side, and then they make it just to the base, and then he gets in his rocket. Donald Sutherland is injured, so he can't go with him, so he's on his own, and they blast off to Mars. Then it gets really fucking weird. Like, until now, it's
quite wasn't weird enough.
Oh no, it's like the way it's shot and everything, and I mean, you kind of the way the moon base is, you can kind of believe that. It's semi-believable. But when we see this Mars base, so he lands at Mars but there's a power surge just as the ship's coming in. There's a scene there. I forgot. There's quite a crucial scene on the way to Mars. They get a call, and a Mayday call, and they just have to go and rescue this random space station in between Earth and Mars. No reason why there's random space station between the moon and Mars, but there's a random space station, right? Not a ship, a space station owned by Norway. of all countries, not the Finland, Norway, right? So a Norwegian thing, right? And the Brad Pitt and the captain of the rocket ship thing that he's on, they go over. And they're going through all the tunnels, and of course they decide to split up because, you know, why do you always split up? But they do. They split up because you know the other guy's about to, you might as well be wearing a red shirt because you know the other guy's about to get it. So, you know, cue more sort of sinister music, inner monologue, blah, blah, blah. And then he tries to talk to the captain, and of course there's no answer. Oh, I didn't see that coming. Anyway, cut a long story short, he finds the other guy, and there's this fucking baboon eating his neck. Baboon. Space monkey. Fucking evil space monkey. It's not what he's saying.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere on a Norwegian space station. Seriously, what the guy was smoking when he wrote about space monkeys on a Norwegian fucking... It sounds like that fucking cartoon that me and Gareth watched last year. If somebody turned up called Gary and asked for a cookie, I would have laughed. But anyway, Brad Pitt dispatches the space monkey, but Captain is dead. Come back. Get on the ship, go to Mars, land in Mars, and Brad Pitt comes in, and the person that's sitting down there is that. Do you remember American Pie? Do you remember the bird that Finch shipwrecked?
The lady.
Yeah, the one that he does a deal with. She comes across as a bit. I think she's a lesbian in that, but then she was recently in Russian Doll on Netflix, and she was being in Orange Is the New Black, where she plays a lesbian in that. She's like Janeways or Reds sort of ending. Anyway, she's a sort of kind of like the I don't know, immigration kind of policeman. She's her typical self, which is weird. And then the bird from that thing on Amazon, the priest thing, which I can't remember now. That's going to wind Gareth up. Anyway, she was also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She plays the sort of commander of the station, but she isn't allowed to go to this sinister radio room. And it looks like, seriously, right? They take him to this recording booth. There's no other way to say it. It's got proper soundproofing. It looks like one of those rooms that they test mobile phones in. If you ever saw when, you know, we had the whole iPhone 4 instance and Apple released pictures of that room where they test phones, it kind of looked like a cross between that and a recording studio. And he records his message to Daddy via the script, and it doesn't get through. So they go, I'll come back the next day. And of course, by that point, after being in some weird, what they call calming room, where it's got pictures of flowers and, you know, things on there, which is kind of a bit psychedelic, bit weird, he then has a heart-to-heart with his dad, goes off script. And then, of course, Daddy replies. But they don't tell him what Daddy replies is. They dismiss him. They say, right, go home. You've become too emotional. And he fails his next psychological test. But Mars Bird, or Mars Commander Bird, comes and breaks him out of jail because apparently her mummy and daddy were on the ship, and she shows him something where basically what happened was, and apparently Spacecom knew this, was that a load of people mutinied and Tommy Lee Jones's character killed them all because they you know, Tommy Lee Jones was all about the mission, about you know, finding extraterrestrial life and nothing else mattered, and you know, and these people wanted to come home, so he killed them. So there was a mutiny. Basically, Brad Pitt makes his mind up to go and kill his dad and blow up the ship and save humanity. Because you know, so he breaks onto the ship after this really weird scene of him getting dropped off in the middle of nowhere on Mars, dropping into a tank, swimming through this sea, but it's really weird scene. And then there's another weird scene where he's running along in this corridor and it just looks odd. And then he climbs onto the ship as the rocket's taking off, somehow doesn't get burnt, breaks in, and then these three really stupid people on the ship all try to, he's going, look, I'm not a threat to you, but they all try to kill him, and by stupid means, all three of them die. So Brad Pitt on his ship, on his own, going to Neptune. And it takes him only 79 days to get to Neptune, I might point out. Neptune, 2.2 fucking billion miles away from Earth. 79 days. So, and there's like this weird sort of drug-induced inner monologue scene, and where he's for some reason hooking up a fucking food tube to him and electro things which stimulate his muscles apparently. even though it's only 79 days there. So we get to Neptune, and we see this where his daddy is meant to be, but for some reason he parks the ship above the ring around Neptune, and the ship that he wants to get to is under the ring. So he pops in this little capsule and flies around the ring in seconds, I might point out, right? Gets on the ship, more in a monologue, more walking around dark corridors. He sets up this nuke, and then you hear Tommy Lee Jones. And basically, bad Hollywood dad tells him, I didn't care about you. I didn't give a shit about your mother. I only gave a shit about the mission. Then you find out he's gone batshit fucking crazy because he couldn't find any extraterrestrial life. And cut a long story short, Brad Pitt tries to save his dad, but blow up the ship because Tommy Lee Jones says that, the rest of the crew that were left went mad and did something to make Neptune go crazy. So for some reason, killing all life on humans, didn't really explain it very well. Tommy Lee Jones killed them as well because nuts. So, but Brad Pitt still wants to save his dad, even though his dad's just said, I don't give a shit about you. He goes, I still love you, Dad. Right. And then, but when he was flying around the rings in Neptune, he fucked up his ship somehow. So he's got no ship. Right? This is the bit that Gareth would really get wound up about, because what he does is they go out and think he's going to take his dad back with him, but his dad goes, no, fuck off. I don't care. I didn't discover extraterrestrial life. Let me go. And he cuts the line and just disappears into the nether. But Brad Pitt suddenly has this new sense of life, because by this point I'm half asleep. But this bit woke me up. It's like, hang on, but you've put a nuclear bomb, which you're about to blow up the ship. Your spaceship is through a ring of lots of micro asteroids, right? But what does he do? He somehow breaks a piece off of the ship, about human size, puts it in front of him, Captain America style, and pushes off from the ship, and in seconds manages to fly through the rings, right, using this metal piece as a shield, and somehow perfectly light himself up with his ship on the other side. He flies into the ship. Now, seriously, the speed, the velocity he was doing, the way he hits that ship, hang on, he must have broken a leg at the speed he was going, but no, he manages to somehow grab onto something, even though he must have hit that ship at the fucking speeding bullet. Gets in the ship, but goes, I haven't got enough power to get home, but I'm going to use the explosion, and I'm going to ride the wave back home. And then we get more in a monologue, and then the other ship goes bang, and there's like this big light, and like overexposure, and then the ship's riding the wave and it's rocketing along. And it basically cuts to Brad Pitt sitting in a bar, drinking a thing. He makes it back to Earth, and you see a little scene of him landing. And then it cues to Brad Pitt sitting in a bar, more boring in a monologue, and Liv Tyler walks in. The poor girl is in this movie, doesn't say a single word, just looks mournful the whole way through the movie. Hence my poor old Liv Tyler being in the movie but not getting a fucking single line. That's it. That's the film.
That's got to be the easiest job, right? Getting paid for walking into a room, saying nothing, and walking out.
I tell you, I mean, right. There were bits that I found quite interesting. I didn't enjoy the film as a whole. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And I really don't like films at the moment having you go at dads all the time. It's just like all dads are bad. Doctor Who's been doing it, and this is another fucking inner monologue, fucking emo bullshit film. I wanted a decent sci-fi film about what the fucking premise said, and it is not that. It's not, or that premise plays third fiddle to Brad Pitt and his emotions and his inner monologue. But when the bit once he dispatches his father, it's like, how's he going to get back to the ship? And the bit where he breaks it off and flies through the ring, I went, oh, for fuck's sake, come on. Right, you really expect me to believe that? I mean, that bit I lost all faith. And the first thing that went through my head is that Gareth would he would already hate this, but this bit would make him angry. It made me angry. It's Captain America.
I know that the thing is, right, he was jumping to a spaceship.
Mm.
So, even though a spaceship is stationary, in orbit, it's stationary, right? The planet's still rotating. So for him to accurately jump from one bit whilst the planet's moving, correctly identify the right angle, velocity, etc., in his head, with nothing more than a bit of metal above his head that he's holding,
shielding him through,
jump.
flying through a ring around a planet, because Neptune has a ring of micro asteroids, which, you know, when you're traveling at velocity, have a lot of, you know, speed and cause lots of damage. Yep. No damage on him.
Even if they're stationary, right, and you hit it at the speed that he would need to move from one bit to another, that would fucking hurt. That would pierce your suit. But I know he's holding the thing to sort of block it, but
it's really fucking dumb. And the thing is, one of my favourite books of all time, my mate Ben put me onto this book, and it has become, I've read it probably more than 10 times now because I love it. One of my favourite books is The Martian by Andy Weir. It's a fucking fantastic book because it's grounded. It deals with science. That is the near future where, you know, the film is great until the ending, because if you've seen the film, the bit at the end, once he's up in space and he uses his glove like Iron Man to thrust himself to get back to the ship, that doesn't happen in the book. They make a joke about him doing that, and the commander turns around and says, "Don't be fucking stupid." And he goes, "Yeah, no, I was only joking." And they explain why in the book that just wouldn't work. This makes that look normal. And
I liked The Martian. I did.
I liked the film.
Matt Damon, wasn't it?
Yeah, I liked the film. Don't get me wrong, but that end scene pisses me off because the book really goes into detail about why that wouldn't work, and they did that as a movie ending. And to me, actually, if they just followed the book, the ending to that book is brilliant, and that would have worked on film. I don't understand why they did it, but the book is amazing. The book is amazing. If you can't be bothered to read it, the Audible version is fantastic. It's written by one of Audible's best narrators. I mean, I love the guy that narrates it as well, because he does another series of books who I am really, really into. But seriously, if you haven't got time to read this, my recommendation is download the Audible book, because it's one of the best books you'll ever listen to. It's really sciencey, but the story's fantastic. It really is a good story. Anyway, so yes, that is Ad Astra. I give it 2 out of 10. 2 out of 10.
Good score, considering.
And Ad Astra, by the way, because a lot of people go, why is it called Ad Astra? Ad Astra apparently is Latin for "to the stars."
Okay.
There you go. So you really know it's arty-farty when they fucking use a Latin title. Anyway, we've got to be moving on because Nigel wants to go and watch some crappy, unimportant team play football.
Yep.
He didn't rise to that. Okay, so before we talk about Smallville, I just wanted to give some sad news. Unfortunately, the indie games developer that developed this game that looks awfully like Star Trek Discovery, and, you know, Nigel, this game was made a couple of years before Star Trek Discovery came out, and had a tardigrade, had a gay blonde character going out with a black man, had a black female that looked awfully like black, but like Michael Burnham, had blue uniforms, because, you know, blue uniforms never turned up in Star Trek Discovery before, or in any Star Trek episode until this. Yeah, Anasa Abdeen is his name. His lawsuit has been dismissed, which is absolute fucking bullshit, because I've never seen such a blatant case of perjury. It was so fucking obvious it's untrue, yet somehow this stupid dickhead of a judge has bowed before the faceless evil bureaucrats of CBS, and Alex Kurtzman and all those wankers, and they've got away with it. And I think that is really, really, really bad. So if I didn't like Star Trek Discovery before, I really don't like it, and I'm really not going to watch the third season. I'm not even. I know it's going to be Car Crash Day, but based upon that principle, I have to watch at least the first couple of episodes of Picard, which grates me, but I have to. But yes, poor old Nasruddin has had his lawsuit thrown out, and I think that's really fucking bad.
I do wonder why they threw it out without even hearing any evidence.
No. Oh no, they heard evidence. I don't know the ins and outs. I just saw a brief tweet about it, so I don't know the full ins and outs. But I don't need to. Nige, if you saw this game, it's like
I remember
Star Trek Discovery. I mean, it just needs Star Trek Discovery.
We were looking at the similarities before a while back now, but looking at the similarities before and where the game came first by a number of years, and then suddenly the same things have appeared in Discovery. Not a coincidence, because they're not, common names, if you know what I mean, like Tardigrade or whatever. That's not a common fucking name, If he had something called Generator, and then they had something called Generator, it'd be like, yeah, mate, that's a bit frivolous, actually. But that's a specific fucking name, and it has the same function. Well, fucking hell. I'm astonished, and I hope he appeals. And gets a different judge who isn't in the pocket of CBS or anybody in that genre. So, well, I wish him good luck, because fuck me, you shouldn't fucking steal people's intellectual property, and the reason why it's not worth the paper it's written on.
They blatantly did, and the more you hear about I mean, a lot of people want to tell you that it's people on the internet, it's white males that bugger on about how bad Star Trek Discovery is, and it's really quite well loved. It's bullshit. Most people do not like it. And it's why you're finding out now that there's rumours going around that Disney are going to drop Captain Marvel, because they finally beginning to admit that she's not very likable. And like, even the people that went to see this film, the lefty people, have had to admit she's not very likable. And the rumour was that they were going to use Spider-Man alongside her to improve her popularity, because one of the most popular characters most likable characters is Tom Welling. What's his face?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and yeah, that's not going to happen now. So, no, it just pisses me off. It really does. And I feel really sorry for him. I mean, hopefully next week we'll talk about it more once I know a few more details. I'm sure Gareth will have a lot more to say about it. I just saw a tweet, but I felt I had to say something, because it sucks. Anyway.
Yes, it does.
On to some really cool news. Now, if you were a Smallville fan, and I think me and Nige used to watch Smallville. I think Gareth did, but Smallville, which was about Clark Kent before he became Superman. You only actually ever saw him as Superman for about fucking 3 minutes at the end of the series. The one thing I always remember about Smallville is how hot Lana Lang was.
Mate, she was my crush back then.
Yeah, so mine as well. Fucking mine as well.
I even, when I was watching, when I was single, Smallville was out, and I actually bumped into a girl out in where I grew up, out on the piss, and she looked identical to her, and she actually was friends of my friends. We were just chatting, and I was like, I didn't actually know her name until many years later. I found out her actual name was Sarah, but for whenever I bumped into her outside on a night out, I just called her Lana. Because I didn't know her name. I was like, Lana, do you want a drink? And she'd be like, yeah.
She was hot.
And she looked identical to her. Couldn't believe it.
Lucky bastard.
It was ridiculous.
Anyway, so the news is that, I mean, this just keeps getting better. As much as we slate the Blanter universe, you're going to have to watch this crossover. I mean, Burt Ward, It's just everybody who's ever been in a fucking DC show is in this thing. And we're getting Tom Welling as Superman, the Smallville version of Superman. So that's now 4 different Supermen played by 4 different people, all in this thing. So you've got Brandon Routh, who's in Legends of Tomorrow. So I don't know how they're going to explain all this, right? Because you've got a couple of problems here, right? Because the one thing that the Blanty universe has done very well is it's taken actors that have been in these shows and recast them in different roles. Now, it kind of, with Barry's dad, it kind of, in alternate reality versions of him, he was the Flash because he played the Flash. The actor played the Flash back in the 90s, so they've already done that.
Yeah,
but they've got a problem here because Lois from Smallville took over the role of Kara's mum in Supergirl, but she's coming back as Lois. So you've got Brandon Routh playing a version of Superman, not the one he plays in Superman Returns. He's playing. I can't remember the name of the comic, but he's playing the one with the black and red Superman suit, which is a really cool suit. He's playing that version of Superman, but he's playing a Superman, but he's also in Legends as something else, as what's his face, as the Atom. So how they're going to explain that, I don't know. So we're going to get Tom Welling, we're getting Brandon Routh as Superman, we're getting the guy that's already played Superman, and I think we're getting one more. Which I can't...
Was that in Lois and Clark?
Well, he's already been in it as Kara's adoptive father. So Dean Cain has been in it. So whether they bring back Dean Cain as a Superman, that would be quite cool. Because they've had Lois in it as like an evil, Terry Hatcher's back in it as an evil thing. They've had all these actors and actresses, but we're getting that. So you've got, and of course, we're getting Burt Ward, original '66 Batman and Robin. We're getting him, and it's so fucking sad that Adam West died because I know damn well Adam West would have been in this because he came back and did that. It's weird because I watched the 2 animations they did of Batman '66 recently. The second one's brilliant. They go into space. It's fucking brilliant. So cheesy, but it's brilliant. And Adam West does sound quite old, but Burt Ward sounds like Burt Ward from the 60s. I mean, the guy's voice has not changed. Yeah, it has not changed. You listen to this car, he still sounds like the 19-year-old kid that was in the '66 Batman. So it's like, Jesus Christ. And I heard an interview with him recently, and he doesn't sound like an old guy. So he's going to be playing what I think is a version of Robin, but he is in it. Which is cool. It's bringing back everybody. So I have to admit, I'm kind of looking forward to this. And it's 5 episodes long because we're getting Batwoman. But that means we get this 5-episode crossover. Spoilers, they're killing Oliver. I'm telling you, they're killing Oliver. That's why it's...
I'm still 12 episodes away from the end of the series on Arrow, Flash, and the other one, Supergirl. I've got loads.
Supergirl, I gave up because it just got too stupid and political. Flash, I watched.
It was getting ridiculous, yeah.
Arrow, I kind of don't like the flash forwards. They don't work for me. And I kind of, once I heard Felicity was going, I wasn't up for it. But I think, despite what they're saying, I think she'll be back. Because the end, I do know what happens at the end of the season. She gets taken off by the Monitor. The guy that we saw, the sort of black guy with the book, the Monitor that was in the last crossover. He comes back. So he's going to be in the first episode of the new season of Flash. Starts this week. He takes Felicity off.
New series out.
Starts soon, yeah, but it'll be a couple of weeks before it is the UK.
I've got so much to catch.
You've got to catch up some of this because Crisis is going to. It has to be. I don't. It's going to be epic, even if the story's crap. It's just seeing all of those actors and actresses back on the screen, and I can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to seeing Tom Welling as Superman. I really am.
That's the bit I'm interested in because obviously I grew up watching him.
Yeah.
slowly gaining more and more of his powers as he was growing up through high school, and then leaving high school, getting a job, moving to what's the city he went to? He left Smallville and went to the one nearby, wherever that was.
Metropolis, dude.
From there. Sorry?
Metropolis, dude.
That's the one. I don't know. Many years ago when I watched it. And yeah, do you know, it would be nice. And there is one startling omission, isn't it? Chloe.
Alison Mack. Yes.
Alison.
Now. Yes. So this got to be the weirdest fucking story. She's in jail for recruiting stroke brainwashing young ladies into having sex and being sex slaves to a cult leader.
It was a cult.
It's weird
from what I heard. Newspapers over here were covering it as well, and she was like working with the guy who was the cult leader. I think he got arrested maybe and chucked in jail, and then she took up the mantle and became the leader. Whereas before she was purely recruiting. It's very, very odd. Very odd. They were brainwashing people into these things.
It's a weird story.
Yeah, so now she's arrested and she's in jail. So there's no chance she'll be in the new series. I don't care as long as Lana Lang is in there.
She won't be. I think it's Lois and I think Lois is coming back because she's already involved, but I don't think they've got what's her name? Kristen Krychak or something. Krychak, something like that. Lana.
I mean, I didn't mind the actress who played Lois. What was her name? Erica Duance. But she wasn't a candle on.
No, Lana was hot. Lana was too. She was too hot. It was like, no. Why would you go with Lois? Lana's hot.
I just couldn't understand it myself. I'm sitting there going, no, you've chose wrong there, Kirsten. I don't know what Kirsten Crook's doing nowadays, but she's probably not been in anything. I'm trying to find out.
She was in something called Beauty and the Beast afterwards. She did a show called Beauty and the Beast. I never saw it, but I know she was in something called some kind of remake of Beauty and the Beast. I think it didn't last very long.
Yeah, I don't see her in. No, she's in something called Burden of Truth as Joanna Hanley. She's also an executive producer there as well. Film wise, nothing really of note. She was in Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li, and she was Chun-Li.
Of course she was.
Yeah, of course she was. Vampire, 2011. Space Milkshake.
That sounds like a porn.
2012. What the hell is that? And something called The Emissary, which was a short film in 2017. Other than that, she hasn't done anything. I thought, from Smallville, she would have been in loads of stuff.
Well, I'm quite
Smallville was quality. The only thing with Smallville that got on my nerves a little bit was the sheer amount of episodes per season.
Oh, God, yeah.
And
9 seasons as well.
It wasn't because it was content. It was because it was a bit of content, loads of filler. Yeah. Content, filler. Content.
Talk about
just shrink it down to like 10.
Dragging it out to that final 5 minutes of that very last episode in season 9. Talk about dragging it out, Jesus.
I mean, yeah, I really did enjoy Smallville, but it was the never-ending dragging out that
Gotham got it right.
Bit.
Gotham got it right. It went 5 seasons before you saw Batman, and that kind of worked. Yeah, But look, we're going to get him as a fully fledged Superman in this. I don't know how much screen time he's going to get, but it is 5 episodes, this crossover. So hopefully it's going to be awesome. So you, surprisingly, want to talk about the iPhone 11. Just before you do that, you remember we talked about the Apple credit card a couple of weeks ago? Guess what?
Oh, yeah.
So there's a company called D-Brand who actually makes some really cool skins. I've got one for my MacBook. Makes it yellow. And my wife's got one for hers as well. They are now officially making skins for the Apple credit card. So I was like, oh, no. I can't buy any more D-Brand stickers from you because you're seriously selling fucking skins for a credit card.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've heard.
Yeah, I know.
Who needs a skin for a credit card?
Well, the Apple one, because if you put it in a normal wallet, it gets destroyed. Yeah, but it's not. It's made from titanium. And it's covered in this coating that gets destroyed by leather. Fucking seriously. The company that sells a monitor stand for 999 quid gives you a credit card that you can't put in a leather wallet. And talking of other weird decisions, the iPhone 11 probably gets the crown for the most ugly fucking phone ever made.
It is horrible.
I have to say, I don't think the Google Pixel 4 is that far behind it. It is a slightly better looking phone, but it isn't that great. The only thing that I will say about the iPhone 11 is, and until we see some real world things, and we're seeing some now, is I think the night mode on it is probably better than the Pixel 3. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm seriously impressed. Yeah, I'm very, very impressed by the night mode on the Pixel 3, but that's nearly a year old now. The night mode on this is impressive. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not excited about that because it's an Apple phone, but I'm excited about that because of what it means for photography. And I'm hoping that we're going to start seeing some of that technology from that come across into cameras. There is a rumor that DJI are making a mirrorless camera, and I am marginally interested by that. I won't be able to buy one because I'm about to buy a new camera, and I'm going to have to keep that one for at least 5 years, because if I went and told my wife I want another new camera, she'd fucking divorce me. So, but I have to say, now don't get me wrong, I know that some of this is thing, but there was Apple give these phones to a few people, and there's a guy that went to China with one, and some of the pictures are incredible. And I mean incredible. And they're incredible on a camera, let alone on a phone. I still won't buy an iPhone 11. Don't get me wrong. I think it's an ugly fucking phone, and I'm not spending that kind of money on a phone. My iPhone 8 still works. And in fact, thanks to iOS 13, it works even better now. So, for once, even though it's as buggy as shit, because get this, Nige, they released iOS 13 this week. Next week, they're releasing iOS 13.1. Literally a week later. Guess what? Because iOS 13 crashes like fuck. And their Apple Store app made by Apple, crashes like a fucker on iOS 13.
Didn't they think to test it before pushing it out to the phone?
Oh, no. They've been beta tested, because I've been telling them every week for every single fucking beta they've released for my iPad. Apple Store app does not work.
They don't. What I mean, they don't test it before pushing it out to the general public.
Because they've got a public beta. And a lot of people loaded iPad OS onto their iPads, me included, because honestly, even with all the bugs in it, it worked a lot better than their iOS 12 on an iPad. It actually makes iPad a lot of sense. And I will say this, even though it's slightly stupid, why Apple? Basically, they've given you USB. You can plug USB drives into an iPad now. You get a nice little Files app. But there is one thing missing. Open with. So when you get like a video, open with this app. open with that app. Now, Apple have always been in the past known for being quite intuitive, quite easy to use, and I maintain this. I handed an iPhone to my mum and she just used it. I gave my mum a Mac and within hours she was just using it because they were always quite easy to use back in the day. On the iPad at the moment, so if you want to download a video file, you have to share it, and then there's an option in there to open with VLC player. Why you can't just have open with is beyond me. But that alone, apart from that, actually the iPad 11-inch Pro is awesome. I will say that it's awesome. It really is. But the iPhone 11, no, not so much.
Not that it concerns me, because I will never get another Apple phone for as long as they're in business, because of the situation that I had before, where out of nowhere I woke up in the morning on my iPhone 4S. I opened it up, I unlocked it, and then a little pop-up appeared, and it went, deleting all contacts. I was like, no, how do I cancel? There was no cancel button. There was no cancel. It's just delete, 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 delete. I'm like, gone. Everything's gone. All right, no problem, no problem. I was actually literally as well trying to organise my mate's wedding's stag do as well, and at the time, so obviously I lost everybody's contact details who I was been dealing with, and so I went, well, I'd only backed up a couple of weeks ago. I can get some of my people's contacts back. Chucked it into iTunes because you had to back then, and it went. I plugged it in, and it went, got your iPhone, and it went, I see, without asking me, without going, synchronizing, there's nothing on your iPhone. Shall I back up from iTunes to your iPhone and restore it? It went, instead of doing anything like that, it just immediately assumed that because nothing was on my iPhone, I want nothing on my iTunes. And it went synchronizing and deleted everything on my iTunes on my computer without asking me. My God, that is not what synchronization is.
No,
is it?
It's weird.
It should ask it. It goes, oh, it's different. Which one do you want to use? And you go, I want to use what's on iTunes and back it up to my iPhone. But no, I couldn't. And then I spent a good week or so looking through old text messages that I'd received, WhatsApps and stuff like that, and adding numbers back in. Eventually I got probably about 60 to 70 phone numbers back, and then whilst about 2 weeks later, I'd met at my mate's house, who I'd arranged the stag do for, on the day of the stag do. And I'm at his house, I've pulled my phone out of my pocket, I've unlocked it, and it went, deleting all contacts. I was like, fuck are you doing? What are you doing? I've literally only unlocked my phone to have a look, to call someone, to see if they're going to come down. And it deleted every contact in my phone again.
I've never had that problem, but I have had some weird issues with iCloud.
Utter crap.
I've had a messages issue on my Mac since it got upgraded last year. I've logged 2 support calls with them and they've never fixed it. I think my iCloud is fucked, but that's another matter. But no, I know where you're coming from. I'm not getting another iPhone 11. I don't want people to think I like this phone. I don't. But I am impressed by the real world results I'm seeing from the camera. Not the the promotional ones I saw the other day were impressive photos, just because I thought they were good photos. I think they've been doctored a bit, regardless of what they're telling me. But there was an amazing one of a guy fishing off the coast, with the sort of jutting limestone rocks behind him. Typical Chinese guy with a Chinese long white beard and hat. But it's very dark behind him. You can just see the outline of these rocks. But then he's got this little sort of lamp and the light on his face. And it's just an incredibly beautiful photograph. And I just thought, wow. But have you seen what people have been posting on Instagram and stuff of their night shots? It's bloody impressive from a phone. I mean, it really is. But I was impressed by Gareth's phone. Don't get me wrong. I was very impressed by Gareth's night mode. I don't know
Gareth's got Pixel 3, and his pictures are really, really good, really quite crisp. And I've taken a few pictures now with my Huawei P30. And like the new Apple, I've got 3 cameras on the back and a little LED as well. And they look a damn sight nicer. They really, really do. Than the design that they've got. It's just the strips, like bottom in a line. If you Google it and have a little look, I think it looks nicer. And but having them sort of offset is a bit shit. And also with the Google Pixel 4, I don't mind it as much because one's in the middle and you've got 2 at the bottom. It's a triangle, and I do agree. I do agree with Gareth that the Pixel 4 looks better. I wonder if the Pixel 4 will be better than the Apple. We'll wait to see, because if you believe the fanboys from Apple, that bionic chip that they've got in the iPhone is several leagues ahead of everything else. I'm not convinced by that, because having seen the photos of what Gareth sent, that's pretty bloody impressive. But do you know what? I don't care. Apple, Google, whatever. I'm excited from a photography perspective of what's coming. The fact that we're getting this software that's been able to do this. Having said that, there is still, to me, a skill in taking a picture. You can have all the fucking technology and clever shit in the world, but if you don't know how to do a decent composition, doesn't matter. And that's the difference. You see, this is why I kind of, that guy that took that picture is a professional photographer, and he knew exactly what he was fucking doing. And you're always going to be able, if you're a professional photographer, it's not about the camera, it's about the photographer. I mean, I've managed to get some amazing fucking long exposure shots out of an 800 quid camera with some cheap ND filters. And I'm not trying to big myself up. It's because I know what the fuck I'm doing. Now, from a personal perspective, it annoys me. But everybody that's seen this picture has gone, "Oh, wow, it's an amazing picture. Your camera must be really expensive." It's not, actually. But that's what I'm saying. It's a kind of con in the respect, if you don't know how to take a decent photo, it doesn't matter what you use. But yes, I am not changing my phone. So I'm keeping my iPhone 8 for another year, because you will still see people queuing up outside 3 stores.
Oh yeah, the iPhone
which
11
is quite frankly tragic.
The iPhone 11 is
in my honest opinion
better than the 10X Max or whatever it was called. The iPhone X Max or whatever it is. It's something much better, apparently. Whether that's press spiel, I don't know. Next year is when we're going to get something that's actually worth talking about.
Maybe.
But I will say this, just before you go. I have to say I quite like the look of that titanium watch, because I like the Apple Watch. I really do. And I think the exercise, the way it does it, don't get me wrong, I know there's people that love Fitbits and all that, but those rings, that's genius. Because it is for me, a motivation. If I don't close those fucking rings, it really bugs me. It really, really bugs me. Yeah, I go out for an extra 5-minute walk if I don't close my exercise ring, that kind of thing. So I do like that, and that titanium watch. It's fucking stupid money. I'll never buy one, but it's nice looking, I have to admit.
Yeah, that's one thing I will say for Apple. They do make stuff that usually looks incredible. However, on this occasion, The phone looks ridiculous.
I know we can diss the phone a lot, but I have to say the watch is a good product. The watch is a good product. If you're like me who needs motivation to do exercise, and I'm beginning to get that motivation again, the Apple Watch is invaluable. And thanks to the latest iOS, it's amazing what data it collects. And I'm obsessed with it. Like you get obsessed with stats. I'm obsessed with looking at all my stats for the day. And the app gives me shitloads of stats now. It's really cool. It's like I've got all these stats now to play with. I'm obsessed every day with it. I'm looking at it every day going, oh, you know. And it's I do like the watch. I have to admit, I've kept my watch. I've got an Apple Series 3 watch, and I love it because it tracks my swimming as well. And it's amazing because I can do breaststroke and I do front crawl, and I recorded a workout yesterday where I was swimming for 45 minutes. Told me I'd done 33 lengths. I swam like 600 and something meters, but it knew how many meters I'd done in breaststroke and how many meters I'd done in front crawl. That's pretty fucking... And it's got all the stats. I was going, oh, look, I did it. And I did my pace. It had the pace I was going at when I was doing front thing. Oh, it was awesome. Anyway. Did you want to say anything more before we fuck off?
No, not really. I think we covered everything, haven't we?
Yes, we have. We have. Do you want to say anything else before we go that might wind up Gareth? You know, you got to finish off on a good note. People can breathe in space. Get over the Guardians of the Galaxy. See, right, I don't know if he's ever seen the film Gravity, although it's a dream sequence where George Clooney just knocks on the door of Sandra Bullock's capsule and just gets in the capsule in the middle of space. It's a dream sequence.
Yeah.
But that to me... But I'll never get over why he always purposefully downgrades Guardians of the Galaxy, probably the best Marvel film, if not one of the best, purely on that fucking thing. Oh dear. Oh, I'm sure we're going to have a list of corrections. So, the 101st podcast, room 101. Gareth. Oh, right.
101.
Yes. Gareth, do your corrections next week. Because then we're going to send you to 101, baby.
Every correction can go into room 101.
101. yeah. Room 101. I'll have like this sound effect I'll just put in. Room 101.
And on that bombshell,
we are off.
Thank you for listening.
We will see you next week when normal hosting duties will return to Ego himself. And I will be demoted back to, sidekick. But for this week, it's goodbye from me, Batman.
And it's goodbye from me, not Fat Man.
Yeah, you should say I'm Batman too, because it will wind him up.
Hang on.
I'm Batman. We're Batman. We're Batman. We're Batman. You're Robin, Gareth. Goodbye. Thanks for downloading the Monkey Nut Punch podcast. You can follow us on Twitter @Monkey Nut Punch. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/monkeynutpunch.